Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we are going to absolutely flip the script on something most of us do every single day, honestly, usually without even realizing it. We're talking about networking. But listen, we are not talking about that awkward small talk or just blindly handing out business cards at an event. Instead, we're looking at some fascinating new research that treats networking as a strategic, lifelong investment. We are going to explore exactly how you can become an architect of influence and build what is brilliantly called your superpower web.
Let's be real for a second. When you hear the word networking, do you feel a little wave of dread? I mean, for a lot of people, the old notion of networking just feels like this exhausting, stressful numbers game, right? You walk into a crowded room, try to meet as many people as humanly possible, and just kind of hope something sticks. But the concepts we're exploring today challenge that whole idea. They ask a really simple but profound question. What if networking wasn't a chore at all? What if instead it was literally a superpower? A web of relationships that, if you build it correctly, can completely transform your personal and professional growth.
Okay, let's dive into this. To build this superpower web, we're going to follow a 5-step blueprint. Number 1, the lifelong savings account. 2, finding superconnectors. 3, the relational blueprint. 4, audits and peer reviews. And lastly, number 5, the weekly habit.
All right, starting right off with Section 1, the lifelong savings account, or how to invest in your superpower web. Now, this requires a pretty fundamental mental shift. Building your superpower web is a continuous, lifelong process. It's exactly like investing in a savings account. Think about how that works. You don't just make one massive deposit and instantly become wealthy, right? No, you make consistent, deliberate deposits over time. And then, through the absolute magic of compounding interest, that account naturally grows into something incredibly powerful. Well, relationships work the exact same way. It's an ongoing investment. You're continually making these small relational deposits that compound massively over the years.
To truly treat relationships like an investment, you really have to notice the difference between the flawed old habit of just trying to increase your number of acquaintances versus the architect strategy, which is cultivating high-quality connections. This is not a transactional approach where more is always better. Instead of just trying to meet the absolute maximum number of people, true influence actually comes from cultivating meaningful depth with a select group.
Which brings us to Section 2, finding your superconnectors, and the 20% power node analysis. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is
Just how lopsided our networks actually are. Like, while it's totally fine to meet a lot of people, not all connections are created equal. Roughly 80% of your network is just going to be general acquaintances. But that vital 20%, those are your super connectors or your key pals. These are the few people who are actually going to move the needle for you.
So what exactly is a superconnector? Well, they are high-impact individuals with whom you nurture deeper, much higher quality relationships. The strategy here is crystal clear. Quality absolutely trumps quantity. I mean, your time and your energy, they're finite resources, right? By identifying exactly who your superconnectors are, you can strategically funnel your networking investments into the relationships that will actually drive long-term growth and yield the biggest returns in your life.
moving on to Section 3, the relational blueprint, structuring your success.
So, here's how we build this into a truly actionable framework. We've got 3 continuous steps to systematically structure how you build relationships. First, review your plan. Just take a step back and actually look at the network you currently have. Step 2 requires setting new networking goals. Ask yourself, what new connections do I actually want to make? And then step 3 is all about looking inward. Ask, how can I deepen the existing relationships I already have? It's a cyclical, continuous process of assessing and growing.
And to make that blueprint actually effective, you need real-world data. Now, as old school as this sounds, physically draw a map of your community. It sounds so simple, but literally almost nobody actually does it. It completely transforms that vague, chaotic idea of quote-unquote who you know into a concrete, manageable map that shows you exactly where your network is strong and exactly where you need to grow.
And this brilliantly illustrates Section 4, audits and peer reviews, inspecting your network.
Because once you have a structure in place, you got to ensure it actually holds up, right? A fantastic way to evaluate the strength of your social web is a feedback and calibration log. You just log an interaction, reflect on what worked well, and honestly assess what needs some improvement. Look, this isn't about being overly critical of yourself. It's about tracking the actual data of your interactions so you can adjust your approach over time. This is exactly how you calibrate those social skills and make sure your networking investments are really paying off.
But hey, self-reflection only gets you so far. You also need strategic peer reviews and blueprint audits. The idea here is to share your community map with a trusted adult or a close friend to get ideas and feedback. Getting an outside perspective is just incredibly valuable. A mentor or a close friend might look at your superpower web and immediately spot a missed connection, or suggest a totally new avenue for growth that you are honestly just completely blind to.
Finally, we have Section 5, the weekly growth habit, maintaining the web. So, we've got the mindset, the strategy, the blueprint, and the audit process. But none of it matters without execution. The framework challenges you to do at least one Connect and Grow activity each and every week. Literally, just one. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture. It could be sending a quick follow-up email, grabbing a coffee with a key pal, or reaching out to a mentor for a blueprint audit. Committing to that single weekly habit is the engine that drives your entire superpower web. And the payoff for this consistent, habitual approach is just massive. This continuous investment will unlock a world of lifelong benefits for you. We're talking opportunities, resources, business, and support. By taking the total chaos of random social interactions and transforming them into a highly structured plan, you basically guarantee that you're going to have the support system you need exactly when you need it for the rest of your life. So the crucial point is this: your network isn't just some dusty list of contacts on your phone. It is a living, breathing architecture of your future success. You have the blueprint now. You know to look for those high-impact superconnectors, and you know it only takes one intentional action a week to start compounding that investment. Which leaves us with just one final question for you to consider right now. Who will you add to your superpower web this week? Get out there and start building. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.